Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I'm Glenn Price, Vice President of Enterprise Sales here at Data Plus. I'll be your moderator today. Before we dive in, I just wanted to take a moment to say on behalf of the team here, thank you, genuinely. Every one of you on this call today has trusted Data Plus to run your finance operations, and that's not something that we take lightly. You've been with us through a lot of years and a lot of month ends, and that relationship is the foundation of everything we're about to show you. That's also why you're seeing this first. Today's session is exclusively for our current customers. This is not a public launch. You're getting the first look at Gen 9, which is the next generation of DP Finance AI Cloud, before anyone else. Over the next 60 minutes, Bruce Bensetler, our CEO, and Dave Disque, our strategy officer, are going to walk you through what Gen 9 is, show it to you live, and give you a real path to getting onto it. We'll also have live polling throughout, so your voice is part of the conversation in real time. We've got a full agenda today and want to make sure that Bruce and Dave have the time they need. So let's get started. Bruce, the floor is all yours.
Thank you very much, Glenn. So a couple things I want to mention first. This is going to be the first of a quarterly series where we're committed to every 90 days, meeting with our customers, showing them what we're doing, communicating more effectively so that the customers have a better understanding of all the functionality that's available to them and the product that they're currently using, as well as where we're planning on going, and also effectively hearing from you what it is you think we should be doing, what your pain points are, what you're looking for in terms of the product enhancements. So we're going to do a preview of Generation 9, the next generation of DP Finance. We're showing it to you first because we want you to see where we're going and be reassured that the product is continuing to advance and be more and more a web-based and modern product that you'll be comfortable with and feel that the product is in fact continuing to advance and be enhanced. So the first of these quarterly webinars is today, and we're going to be doing the Gen 9 launch, providing a preview of it. It's DP Finance AI Cloud, and we want to explain what it is and why it actually has a name that has AI in it. Then over the next 3 quarters, we're going to be covering different topics. On August 7th will be the next session. It'll cover DP Invoice, which is our AI enhanced DP Invoice workflow product that uses AI to read invoices, to figure out who the vendor is, what the expense distribution is, and learns as it processes invoices so it gets more and more accurate as it goes along. We'll also be doing a deeper dive into DP Connect, which is our API-based connectivity product, which encompasses control and automation of all of our existing workflows for automation of integrations, as well as providing a modern API connectivity product that allows users to use other tools if they want to get at their data, or to work with another vendor to be able to expose some of their data to another vendor for whatever products that they wish. Q4, we'll do a product roadmap, what we're building, what we've done thus far, and we're planning on it to move into 2027. And then at the beginning of 2027, we're going to do an innovation recap. We're going to go over what we released in 2026 and what we're working on and what the roadmap for the rest of 2027 looks like. So today's agenda covers a lot of different items, but the first of which will be introducing Gen 9, what it is, why it's named what it is, and what are the significant aspects of it that we feel that are going to be really resonate with you. Second, of course, is what's not changing, that all of your existing data, all of the processes that you're used to in terms of posting and closing the month and running reports and financials and all that stays the same because it works well. But the user experience is what needs to change. So what's not changing is all of your data, no matter how much data you have in the system now, how many years worth of data, all of that stays exactly as it is. We don't have to do a data migration. We don't have to do a conversion. We're just changing the user experience, the user interface on the front end, make it a web product, a pure web product. Then we're going to talk a little bit about continuous innovation and what people expect today in terms of new features on a regular basis, and getting away from quarterly or semi-annually updates, but going to a continuous update model, such as what Microsoft has now, where every Tuesday they roll out a new version of Windows 11 or updates to Windows 11. So our technology stack that we've now embraced allows us to do that, and we've already started to do it, and we're finding great success in doing so. Then we're going to do a preview showing you actually some of the screens and some of the functionality, so you can see how much it looks like what you currently use, but also where we've extended and added new functionality because it's now possible in the web world. We're going to announce and show you how to get involved with the early adopter program, so that for people who want to start to use the new web-based product at the same time that they have access to the existing product, we've come up with the early adopter program. And so that's something we'll be announcing and going into a little more detail a little bit later. Then we're going to cover AI and automation, how DP Invoice uses AI already today, and how we're planning on using it more and more as we go forward in the product. And then also automation, what we've done thus far in terms of automation, where we're going with automation, because that's one of the things that people really want, is to automate functions so that as much as possible can be done without having to click on an icon or run something manually, that it just happens automatically. Then we're going to get into what we're currently working on, what's the current projects, and also get into a little bit more of DP Connect, which is as I said, our API-based connectivity infrastructure. So then we will then finish up with the live polling Q&A, so that we can show you a little bit more of what we're doing, and also get some Q&A questions from you folks. Then we get into Gen 9 itself, the DP Finance AI Cloud. So it's a significant update. It is the most significant update since we came out with the hosted platform back in 2013. It's all web native, no more Citrix, no more issues with getting involved with your IT people to get Citrix installed, or running into problems with printing, or running into problems with other things that are the typical issues that people get frustrated with Citrix for. So we're getting rid of all of that. It's all going to be run in the browser of your choice, so that it will be a much more modern application. Speaking of modern, we know that younger users are used to web-based products. They look at a Windows product and they say, well, this is dated. I'm used to working with web-based applications. And so, they come away with the feeling that the company they're working for, the hotel where they're working, is not up to date with technology. We think that's something that needs to be dispelled. And also, the web technology allows us to do things that we couldn't do, or if we could do them, they took much, much longer to do. So with web functionality and the tools that are available now, we can be so much more responsive. And then we can use AI in many, many ways to enhance the product. We've been using AI to do the migration, and so that is certainly something we've learned from. And then we're building AI in as part of the functionality, and eventually it will be part of the user. User will be able to access AI agents in order to be able to query the data and do other things with it. And then, because it's all running in Linux now, and not having to deal with another layer of a virtual Windows desktop, which is what Citrix is, we can make it even faster. So the product now runs very quickly, but it will be even faster because it all runs on the Linux back end of the Linux servers. So it is going to be much, much faster. So what have we preserved? Okay, we've preserved all the USALI compliance, which we're now completely compliant with the 12th edition. All of our standard chart of accounts, our standard statements and things are all USALI compliant. And we do, in fact, have certified USALI experts on staff with our support people. So any questions you have about USALI, we'll continue to be able to support. Multi-entity architecture. All the architecture stays the same because, as I said, the database doesn't change. So all the functionality for intercompany activity, for consolidation, for side-by-side reporting, it's all still there. We've also added in more complex workflows for approvals, and also we've also added new functionality to our project management for those people who want to track capital projects. Project management, for those of you who do not know, is a capital budgeting product that allows you to pull data from your accounts payable and general ledger and keep track of your capital budgets as they go from beginning to end. And as you know, many of those span fiscal years, so the system has to be able to deal with that as well. All the integrations are still there. We haven't lost any of the integrations, so all of the PMS, point of sale, payroll, banking, they're all carried forward in our DP Connect API-based integration platform. We are finding tremendous success with that, in that people are finding that they can connect to their data. They come in with a BI tool, they want to use Microsoft Power BI, or where they want to use some other tool. They can use the DP Connect, the API connection, and be able to pull their data. And we're finding that within sometimes a day, we're actually able to start integrating with another tool. The partnership supporter model is something that's important to us. We want to make sure that we hear what you're looking for. And that's one of the reasons we're going to be doing the quarterly webinars, in order to make sure that, well, you have a voice and that we're hearing you. And again, did I say that all your data is going to be preserved? I think I may have, and I may mention it again. It's a very important thing. It should take away a lot of the fear factor or hesitancy that people have, because we're not converting your data. It's all still there, and no data will be changed at all. You can actually use both applications side by side and make a change in one, and then look at the equivalent function in the other version and see that the data is all exactly the same. So these are all the things that were kind of guided us. We wanted to be able to do rapid improvement. We wanted to be able to not be struck or held to updates that took forever to do, but be able to get to a rapid improvement environment. And so the new technical stack that we've moved to allows us to do that. And we're finding that we're already doing that. Small tweaks we can do literally within, an hour or two, and people want to make small changes and things of that nature. So it's a new world in terms of software development and software rollouts. Smarter AI, building AI in. The AI models that we are using are actually built into the software platform. They're not bolted on, they're actually built into the platform, so that we have agentic AI agents that we can use, as well as a MCP connector, so that we can marry your data to the large language models and do some really exciting stuff. And I've been really impressed with some of the things that we're able to do when we start analyzing data and looking at changes in time. And for example, looking at AP invoices and seeing how clever the agents are in being able to figure out who the vendor is, what the expense distribution is, things like that. And then, of course, the ecosystem. That's why we created DP Connect, because we realized that API integrations are really where people want to be these days. And we find that they are much more reliable, they're more secure, and they work much better. And by having good documentation for your APIs, people are able to quickly use those to be able to start pulling data and working with it. So now I'm going to get into a little bit of a preview of the application, so that you can see exactly what it looks like as we go through it. So the first thing I want to show is, here's the vendor file maintenance. Now, in many aspects, it looks very similar. You have all the same data that you're used to seeing. We have a collapsible menu on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side, we have a new filter panel. So up at the top, we've consolidated all of your navigation buttons so they're in one place. So you can then, add, modify. You can export to Excel. You can export to PDF, any grid that's in the system, just as you've always been able to do. But one of the things we've changed is instead of having the filters at the top of the columns, as well as having separate filter boxes up at the top of the screen, we've moved everything over to the panel, which is the filter vendor panel. And this allows us to then go in and choose the filter that we want. So we have the collapsible filter panel, and then we can put in, we say we want to filter by city, and we we say we want to find all the vendors whose address is in New York, and then we want to be able to display those, and they're immediately displayed. We can also add additional filters. So let's say you want to find all the food and beverage vendors in New York City. You could add additional filters. You can add as many as you want, turn them on, turn them off. So that it makes it very, very easy to go through any of your data very, very quickly using this tool. And the results come back very, very quickly. We've allowed people to export to Excel or PDF for some time. But it's been a little bit of an awkward process. So we've now built it into the platform itself in a much more seamless fashion. So now what you can do is you can, with one click, launch the Excel to Excel or PDF. And then you can go directly to the machine, your local drive, whether it's be a network drive or your computer, and you can then store the file. So you don't have to go and search for it and then download it or move it around. You get the browser-based integration so that it immediately pops up Excel file or PDF, and then you can then just store it locally, save it, and you're done. We've reworked all of the inquiries, and we spent a lot of time talking about this internally and talking to customers, saying, how do you find data? What inquiries do you use? And we learned some things that we hadn't anticipated, and much of what we found was reinforced what we already knew. So we can launch in this particular case, a trial balance inquiry. So you can then import, you can specify the fiscal period and the fiscal year, the property that you want. And then you can then get either a period to date or year to date presentation of the data in your trial balance format. And so then we display all of the accounts with the opening balance, debits, credits, and so forth. You can pick any one of those that you want to examine, and then you can drill down to get all the detail. And you can see the details of the transaction. You always have the breadcrumbs, so if you want to go back, you can easily do that. You don't have to launch a new search. You can easily follow the breadcrumbs back. You have all your comments, everything that's available in the transaction is available online. And of course, you have the full audit trail, because in Data Plus, you can trace any transaction back to when it was entered. I don't care whether it was last week or 10 years ago. It's always available in a full audit trail. The other thing we thought that would be nice was to be able to, once you see a particular transaction, see all the batch that posted it. Okay, so we now have the transaction level detail, which then flows into the ability to be able to export the batch or see the entire batch with all the debits and credits. You can also go in and you can say, I want to organize this by the transaction itself. So I can then go in and say, I can drag the heading, any one of the headings, the column headings, to the space above. And I, for example, wanted to drag all of the transactions together. I could do that, resets it, and then I can also have multiple ones. So if I wanted to look at my data, not only the transaction, but all the transactions that make up that batch, and then reorganize them, I can do that. So the other thing that we've done is we've realized that rather than having people continuously go back to the menu to do things, that you should be able to do things dynamically from wherever you see data on the screen. You should be able to launch other functions without having to go back to the menu and then launch a new function. You should be able to do that. Well, we've always had a reverse batch function. Okay, and so we allow you to do that. Choose an account, or choose account, and it knows what batch it came from. So it then gives you the ability to select what you want to see, and then to be able to get a clean batch to be either a reversing batch or a correction batch or both, so that you can then do that. But what we decided to do then was to, in fact, allow you to run that from anywhere. So wherever you are, if you see an inquiry, not just from the menu, but from an inquiry, and you want to see all the data and look at the batch, you can do that. Now, one of the other things that we did was talking to people about how they do their journal entries. Because what we found or have observed is that more and more of the journal entries come from Excel files. People are used to now creating Excel files, whether they be for their audit entries at the end of the month, or whether they be for whatever purpose. They're used to working in Excel and wanting to be able to import the Excel files into the system and create journal entries, which they can then review, be edited, and then post. So what we've done is we've added the ability to drag and drop a native Excel file directly into the screen to import that function. So you don't have to save it as CSV, remember where you saved it, then go in and run a function to import it. You can just drag it onto the screen. It will then create the batch and display it for you. And then you can review it and see if you want to make any changes. You can make changes. You can either add transactions, make changes as you wish. In this particular case, what we found, and we're showing here, is the fact that we noticed that looking at a lot of the transactions or the things that were imported into Data Plus, that they more or less follow the way accountant does their worksheets, their work papers. And so you see a debit and a credit and another debit and credit and so forth, and then they balance to zero, and that makes up a grouping. And then they go on and do the next grouping. And we found in looking at some of the data that this was really a pattern that repeated. So we said, okay, well, we can do that. So if you give us a spreadsheet and the spreadsheet can be auto-grouped, we will auto-group, which we did here. So here we have one batch, but that actually it grouped itself natively into 3 different transactions. So we present it as such. Now you can change those if you wish, or make edits or changes to them, but we realized that this was a much more native to an accountant's perspective of their data. So we did that. And then the next thing we did is we said, okay, well, one of the strengths we've always had is the ability to do intercompany transactions and have the system automatically do that, whether that was in accounts payable or general ledger. So what we have always had is the ability to enter those transactions and have the intercompany entries automatically created and then be part of the data that gets posted. Well, we realized that rather than having to run the edit list to see what those are, we can show those on the screen. So here in this particular case, the first line item is changed to property 12. So the system automatically figured out that there's an intercompany between property 10 and property 12 and shows it on the screen, so that in fact you're seeing live exactly what's happening as you're manipulating your data. So very, very powerful. Visible during entry, one batch, both sides, debits and credits, and then auto balanced automatically. All right, so a few things to take away from this. Dave, can you kind of highlight what you think that people should be taking away?
Hi, Bruce. Thank you, and thanks for sharing. So, hello, everybody. It's nice to meet you virtually. I had the privilege of joining Data Plus almost a year ago, and I've worked with Bruce for, going on about 15 years. My background, I used to oversee and run as the CEO and general manager of a large payments business that was integrated with Data Plus. So what I see here is, number one, you're going to get a modern infrastructure, right? Something really new and fresh, but you're not losing anything that you've had before with Data Plus. The team has put a lot of thought and effort into that. And there's so much going on in today's environment. Things are moving fast, as you're aware, with AI. the ability to use it thoughtfully, and to really bring efficiencies in analytics and insights that are going to be very relevant. So I'm really thankful that Bruce and his team has used an architecture that has the ability to deploy and code quickly using AI, as well as to start to action it so it can interface with our customers. So again, 3 takeaways. It's a modern feel. AI is embedded, not bolted on, and everything you trust is still there. So the other thing that's really beautiful here is it doesn't require an effort to deploy this. Now, there's no implementation. It's just simply a new login experience. So, and you're going to be able to toggle between the existing experience that you have today and this new experience as we release it over the coming months. So from a user perspective, this is a very easy transition, and it shouldn't be a heavy learning curve because, again, a lot of the workflows, the way you work today, is built into the existing platform. So what is our migration plan in the schedule that we have in mind? Now, right now, early adopters. We're ready to start taking on early adopters to log in, experience it, provide feedback. And we plan to do that through the end of this quarter. Q3 is going to be a broader rollout where we're going to be expecting that all customers start to use the new platform and make that transition. With our goal in mind that as we enter 2027, that 100% of the portfolio is fully migrated and no longer using the legacy architecture and on the modern architecture going forward. So you have an opportunity to be among the first. We're going to give priority access to those that are listening in on the webinar. You're going to have a direct voice in the roadmap, which is really exciting if you choose to take this adventure with us early. And you'll have the Data Plus experience that you've always had. So with that, I'm going to tee it up to Glenn, who's going to take you through a polling action.
Thanks, Dave. Folks, you can find polling a couple places. On the left-hand side navigation bar, where the attendee list is, there's also polls. You can access polls there. On the bottom taskbar, there's also a graph that will indicate your poll selections as well. So if you would, please, are you interested in Gen 9 early adopter program? Let's see some results. It looks like we've got about 40% saying yes, 60% saying maybe, send me more information. I still got some voting going on, so we'll just give it another couple of seconds and then we'll finalize. All right, and with all votes in, it looks like we've got about 30% of the respondents saying yes, please contact me, and about 70% saying maybe, need some more information. So if you voted, thank you very much. And if not, there'll be another opportunity for you to vote in just a moment.
All right, beautiful. So one of the things that we recognize and where we see a lot of pain in the back office of our customers is through manual invoice entry. So this was one of the first areas, at least when I got injected with the business, that we played around with deploying a native first new application for invoice capture. So what we learned is a lot of our customers were manually keying in invoices, manually uploading the images into the Data Plus system, and or in some cases using third-party platforms to capture the invoice, but not having the transparency and the connectivity that we could offer through a native application. So we built out a concept in December. We actually launched it with initial proof of concept customers, January, February, and March, and are now in production live with a very robust invoice automation engine bolted directly or connected directly to the Data Plus application, DP Finance. So that's just an example, I think, of the rapid development you can do with AI. It captures the invoice information, it'll auto GL code it, it'll route it, it'll split transactions, it does some very unique stuff, and it also will start to provide insights. For example, if a product SKU is costing you more than it did last time, it's going to start to flag that stuff and do some unique stuff. In addition, we also are thinking very heavily about how we transform our business to be a modern business. That's one of the reasons I came into the business. I made an investment in the business, and I also committed to working as an operator in the business so that we could accelerate the business and ensure that we are a modern platform using modern technology and being very responsive to what our customers' needs are and the customers ask. So invoice capture was one of the areas that's already live and deployed. You're going to see anomaly detection utilizing the invoice or the AI tools, which is very interesting. Conversational insights, the ability to have a live chat bot right on the finance platform and ask questions and receive insights immediately about what's happening within your business. And obviously workflow automation is also an important thing. And there's a lot of areas, and one of the ones we tackled first was workflow automation as it revolves to invoice. We also have very strong workflow automation as it revolves to DP Pay and making payments. So a lot of exciting things coming on that front.
So there are 6 themes, as you see here, that we're working on through 2026 and into 2027. And we think we can do it better than bolting on other applications. We have been dealing with a lot of workflow tools, different systems that feed data into Data Plus, and some of you are using some of them, and some of them are nice applications, but we think that we can do a better job with a lot of this functionality because the AI agents are then built into Data Plus and they have full access to the data. So if, for example, you were to compare it to a, let's say an invoice workflow application that then feeds into Data Plus, that allows you to enter your invoices or captures your invoices and then feed them into accounts payable, which some people are doing today. Well, they don't have access to a lot of the information that is in your database. I mean, they get your chart of accounts and they get your vendor master, but they don't really have much else. So because we can do a much deeper dive into your history, you know, if you've had a vendor for 5 years, you've got a lot of history with that vendor. And so the system can do a much better job of figuring out not only what the correct expense distribution should be, also analyzing patterns for changes in price and things of that nature. But it just can do a better job because we've built it into our application. So, you know, we've also continued to work on the modernized experience with the user experience so that you can run functions, as I mentioned earlier, from anywhere. So you shouldn't have to always go back to the menu to run something. You should be able to see something on screen, be able to highlight that, and then run another function to either get more data, more detail, or make adjustments or change to it. So that, you know, you should be able to then bring up an invoice, and that if it hasn't been paid, then be able to avoid that invoice or adjust that invoice, you know, on the fly. Also, people are now wanting more and more to embedded analytics, and this is where AI really shines because it's able to go in and analyze the data and be able to create dashboards and provide historical analysis of information and patterns for future. Also, the tool set that we're using now is also set up so they can support different platforms. So it is responsive design so that you can run certain functions on a tablet. You could run certain functions like just approve an invoice on your phone, but that the tool set now allows us to do much more responsive design taking advantage of different devices for different users. The financial controller isn't going to be entering an invoice necessarily on their phone, but they may need to or want to approve an invoice using their phone and get an email message that allows them to do that. And we can do that today. And then also getting into much more conversational activity between the AI agent and your data. So you're able to then ask what if questions and get more information. And then, as I previously mentioned, being able to much more continuously update software. You know, Microsoft every Tuesday, they do a new rollout of the new versions of Windows 11. You know, we're starting to do much more continuous integration and releasing data on a much more frequent basis. So that is what's in flight now. Let me talk a little bit about, just briefly, we're going to be focused on this a little bit more in the next third quarter in August, but DP Connect. So we've always been known as a company that's easy to work with. So one of the reasons we've been able to do as much as we have in terms of integration with other systems is because, you know, we want the customer to succeed. And if they're trying to solve a problem, you know, our attitude or feeling has always been, that's a challenge we need to meet. And so we need to be able to be flexible and responsive in understanding what the other vendor can do or the other product that the customer wants to use, and be able to integrate that in so they can pull that data in or take that data out and work with it. So we've always had that as a philosophy. And as a result, we've developed over 267 partner platforms we've integrated with. But we pulled it all together into our new DP Connect API platform with really, really great documentation that is professional. Let me just show you here. I'm going to go to our website, and here is, in fact, DP Connect. And you can go through and look at all the available endpoints for accounts payable, general ledger, budgeting, and so forth. And all of that is available directly from our website. And now we've taken a little bit of a different approach. We're not doing a public API. We want to do it as a partner API. And the reason for that is we found that a lot of times people, if you give them a public API, they'll start pulling data. Well, they may not really understand the data, or they may not be pulling it efficiently, or they may be working around the fact that what their understanding of the data isn't the most efficient use of the data or the most efficient way to get the data. So we've adopted a philosophy of having a partner API so that we will work with the customer or their partner to be able to make sure that they're getting the data that they want, and that they understand how to use it and how to use it efficiently. And then if they need additional endpoints or additional information, we build that into the enhanced version of any API. So now I'm going to turn it back to Glenn. He's got some poll questions that he wants to ask, present to you, and to get a little bit more information as to what you folks are looking for and what you think we should be working on. Glenn?
Thanks, Bruce. I appreciate that. So, folks, we're going to take some polls now. Help us build the product, if you don't mind. The first poll is up now for, if we could automate one thing in your back office, what would eliminate the most pain? If you don't mind starting your voting. Results are starting to come in now. We've only got six folks voted so far, 8. Trying to get to double digits before I give you any results. All right, we're up at 11 out of 21. So let me give you some preliminary results. So if we could automate one thing in your back office, what would eliminate the most pain? At 50%, folks are saying invoice processing and DL coding. At 14%, bank reconciliation. At 35%, month-end close and reporting. 0% for chasing approvals and exceptions, and 0% for onboarding vendor and master.
I was going to say, Glenn, that's music to my ears, because we are live with DP Invoice, and you could do that today. So you should love that, Glenn, because you can reach out and start to help these folks.
Indeed. And if you haven't gotten an email from me already about DP Invoice, I'd be surprised. I've been hitting it pretty hard. So if you have some interest in pursuing a conversation around DP Invoice processing, I'm very happy to have that with you. Please let me know. I will, of course, make my information available at the end of the presentation. Bruce, if you don't mind, can we go on to the next poll? And the next poll is, which AI capability would have the biggest impact on your operation? Smarter invoice automation, anomaly detection on transactions, conversational reporting and queries, AI-assisted reconciliation, or predictive cash flow? Based on the last one, I already know the answer to this one and where most people are going to vote. Let's give it just a few minutes. If you haven't voted already, please take just a moment to vote. All right, at 15 votes, we're going to call it. So smarter invoice automation wins, so to speak, at 41%. AI-assisted reconciliation is number 2 at 23%. Anomaly detection, conversational reporting, and predictive cash flow all have 11%. So again, the biggest challenge that we're hearing for the most part is invoice automation and the conversation around that. If you wouldn't mind going on to the next poll. Thanks. Which roadmap area would you like Data Plus to prioritize? The modernized DL experience, embedded analytics and dashboards, mobile workflows and approvals, deeper AI across the platform, or budgeting and forecasting? Please vote now. All right. At 16 votes in, we're going to call it. A modernized DL experience wins at 70%. So that's it's actually at 72% now with 18 votes in. So 72% modernized DL experience, 16% embedded analytics and dashboards, and 11% for budgeting and forecast, 0% deeper AI across the platform, and 0% for mobile workflows and approvals. Thanks very much for voting. So we did save some time for Q&A, and I've got a couple of questions already lined up. So if you would, please go to the Q&A and drop any questions that you might have in the chat there, and I will moderate and get an answer for you. The first question we've got is from, if I'm not pronouncing this correctly, I apologize. Is it Krithika or Krithika? My apologies if I didn't get it either time. But the question is, currently, if a check is reissued, it lists the number as multi. Are we able to see all check numbers? And Bruce, I've asked you to answer that one if you don't mind.
I'm not sure the question is whether they want to see all the invoices that were paid on that check. It sounds like that's the question being asked. The answer to that is that there's more than one. We say that it's multi. We will be adding a drop down. So the new version, Gen 9, will have a drop down. So you will be able to click on it and be able to see all of the invoices that were paid on that invoice, on that payment.
Thanks, Bruce. And the next question, also from Krithika, how do we opt for early adoption? What's the process going to look like for that?
We're going to send out an invitation to all that were on this webinar where they can opt in. So that invitation will be coming out probably no later than early next week to enroll in the earlier adopter program.
Excellent. Thank you, Dave. Well, I've got a couple more. Will the new platform work on multiple browser tabs simultaneously?
Yes.
Excellent. How would Gen 9 handle the integration with hotels and Opera Cloud?
Well, because all of those integrations have already been ported over to DP Connect, they will operate the same fashion as they do now. So DP Connect not only provides the integration to be able to read Opera or Opera on-prem or Opera Cloud, it also includes in that engine the ability to schedule the updates to then post that data to your general ledger and to automatically run your daily revenue or your daily management report, which also includes time and attendance data. So all of that already exists and is part of the DP Connect platform. So the simple answer is it will be exactly as it is now. There will be no change in that, and you will then be able to fully automate all the integrations with any of the PMS or point of sale systems.
Thanks, Bruce. The next question is, for transitioning to the new system, I am able to use the new system without having to convert my staff immediately? And I can answer that. The answer on that is yes. You can actually toggle between the new system as well as Gen 8, the legacy system that you're used to. So you can keep your staff on the old system if you'd like to, and you can use the new system yourself. Next question is, what training, support, and documentation will be provided? Bruce, I'll ask you to answer that one as well, if you don't mind.
Well, two things. One, we're preparing a lot of new documentation, also going to newer forms of documentation and training. So there will be a series of training videos that will be available. We're building out our YouTube channel that will have lots of how-to short videos. We realize now that short videos are what people like to see. In fact, I don't think you can assemble anything in your home today without going to the YouTube and getting the instructions on how to assemble something. So we recognize that people really like to go to YouTube or similar hosting sites and be able to see short videos. So we're preparing a bunch of those to be able to help people guide through. And we're also it's a little early to announce this, and Dave, I don't know whether I should or not, but we are also looking at AI agents to be able to interact with users, to be able to enhance the support experience so people can ask and then have the AI agent provide them with information and guide them in doing what it is they want to do.
Excellent. The next question is, will checks be auto-pushed through to the bank reconciliations in real time?
There are two parts of this, or two models here. One of which is that as soon as the information is available from the bank, then you can download it. We are looking at some services that automate some of that process. There are some services out there that will automate the process and allow that information as transactions clear the bank to then be automatically imported into the system. Alternatively, you can download the data, more frequently and then have that imported in through your bank reconciliation. But we recognize that what people want is to have it automated. So we're looking at a couple of services that provide that link. Some of the services that are out there will claim that they will link with virtually any bank that's out there. And so we expect to, as we go forward into this, won't be part of the first release, but then be able to later this year offer a service that allows you to have that data imported directly into the bank reconciliation and then have it immediately update your system.
So if they're using DP Pay, the card in the ACH transactions would auto reconcile, correct?
That is correct. Yes. Yeah. If they're using DP Pay, and I probably should have mentioned that. It's a plug for DP Pay. DP Pay, in fact, actually has that now, because what happens there is every transaction that's processed through DP Pay, whether it be check, credit card, or ACH, as it goes through its own workflow, the Data Plus system, the accounting system, General Ledger, and accounts payable are immediately updated by the information that comes back from the credit card processor.
Excellent. And the next question from Carlos Torres, will the early rollout be in beta?
Well, beta is kind of a interesting term. We have spent 2 years in learning how to create web applications and to work with them. And in fact, the accounts payable invoice approval that's been available for several years was our first web application. So if you put in an invoice for approval in Data Plus, you get an email, and then you can then approve that invoice by clicking on the link and entering the email. That's a pure web application that we created. So web applications have different logins, they have different authentication issues, they have different other issues, security, and so forth. So we've been working on this for a couple of years now. So what we're looking to do here with this is, since it is a user experience change, not an application change, we feel that we're willing to let people have access to it, using the browser, as well as have access at least through the rest of this year through the Windows desktop that's hosted by Citrix. So in that sense, I don't know how you classify that in terms of beta, but it's in reality an alternate way to access the application using a web browser, but still having all the same functionality.
Excellent. Thanks, Bruce. The next question is from Diana Perez, and I think I can answer this one. Will we be able to click on a line item on the financial statement in order to see DL details for that line item? And the answer on that is yes, Diana. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Bruce, but I'm pretty sure I'm not.
No, that's correct. You can do that today, actually, using the statement preview.
All right. Next question from Katie. Will the training slide be available online as well? I'm not sure if we made arrangements yet, but Bruce, I'll ask you, will the training slide be available online?
Yes.
Great. Next question from the Radisson Trinidad. On Gen 9, how would check formatting be handled? Some financial institutions here in Trinidad, as we format our text in a certain manner, would migrate to Gen 9 while keeping our existing formats, etc. So the question, how would check formatting be handled? is the question from this group.
So we've done a couple of things. One is we've written a web application that allows for modifications to the check format. We see fewer and fewer checks being written, and in fact, in some countries where we operate, they write no checks. I mean, literally write no checks at all. It's all done electronically. North America, and particularly the US, is way behind on that. So we find people moving away from wanting to have the pre-printed checks, and they don't really care if the logo's on it. They just want the vendor to get the check quickly, and that's it. So we've built a web application that allows the user to be able to fine tweak the check. Is it quite as pretty as the others, but that you've been able to do? No, it's not. But then again, we found that people care less and less about that. They just need to be able to print a check quickly, according to a standard format, have the data, make sure that it then gets accepted by the bank, that the MICR code at the bottom is in the right place, because some banks are very, very picky about the format of the MICR code, the spacing of it, the space between the top and the bottom, and all that. So we have created a web application that allows you to do that, and that will be part of the new release as well. So it will actually greatly simplify the ability to print on blank safety paper a check that you can format, and you can manipulate the exact placement of things.
Excellent. And the last question is an easy one. I'll take this one. Does this work on Mac? Yes, it does. And with that being said, are there any other questions before we move forward and start to wrap up? All right. I will ask, if you don't mind, Bruce, to, there you go. I appreciate you. So please, if you would, remember to save the date. August 7th, 2026 will be the next one of these. We'll be talking about the Q3 webinar, DP Invoice and DP Connect, live customer panel, DP Connect Spotlight, the roadmap update, as well as your input from today and how we'll be moving forward. And I think there's one more slide, if I'm not mistaken, Bruce. Thanks. And with that, I will give you this. The next era starts here and today. So obviously, we'll be sending out the recording from today's meeting. We'll be sending out the results of the surveys, and as well as an invitation early next week on the early adopter program. Folks, again, thank you for your time today. Thank you for your continued support of Data Plus. We appreciate you very much, and we're looking forward to another 50 years of great success with you. Bruce, do you have any closing remarks before we thank everyone for their time?
No, the only thing I can say is it's really exciting to have these tools that allow us to do so much more quickly. We're just having a great time with the web product, and we think people are going to be really excited once they start to work with it and use it.
Thanks, Bruce. And Dave, I'll give you the same courtesy. Any closing remarks before we get out of here?
The only thing I'd say is get ready. There's a lot of good stuff coming, and we're going to be moving quickly here.
All right. And once again, folks, thank you so much. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. Stay out of trouble, and we'll be talking with you soon.